So here we are, episode 50 of TueZday Garage. And as such, I asked you for your questions, so it's time I give you some answers. Aloha! I'm making this little piece at the end to put at the beginning because I just finished editing this entire video and I thought to myself, you know what? Sometimes Q&As can be a little long. I'm gonna go through and with every single question, I'm gonna put in the description of this video a timestamp. So it'll have the question and a timestamp so you can skip directly to the questions that you want answered the most so you don't have to sit through everything. And yeah, you just know the general order of things. So enjoy that. I hope it works out for you. I'd really appreciate your feedback on this video in general, but especially on the fact that I'm putting these timestamps in there. Let me know what you think of that. Thanks. And now, on with the show. So as you know, over the last couple months, I have been daily driving the RBZ, and as such, I have now reached almost 3,000 miles on the engine since the last time I did a service, and it's time to go through everything. I want to dump every liquid out of this engine and completely reset the car, and we just consequently hit the 50th episode of TueZday Garage, and I thought, you know what, this would be a great opportunity to do a Q&A. More than just sitting on a chair talking to you guys, but while I'm wrenching on the car, we're gonna go through and answer some questions. Now, all along in this process, I think I've been pretty active and I address all your questions and concerns right away. However, I wanted to give you this opportunity just to ask anything that maybe's never been asked or just a little clarity on some things. I just finished washing the RBZ, man. She is out in the driveway looking fantastic and spectacular, man. Still in love with these wheels, guy. They look so good. So a couple weeks ago, I went to another car show here in El Paso. It was a really good time and it supported a really good cause. I captured some footage of that event. I'm gonna go ahead and roll that for you now. And while that's going on, I'm gonna go ahead and get the car in here, get it up, get it ready, get it prepped, and we can go ahead and get going with our Q&A as soon as you come back. We are out here again at the Wet n Wild in El Paso. There's a car show going on and it's actually a soldier and first responder appreciation day, so we're out here supporting a good cause. Proceeds are going to the Wounded Warrior Project, other first responders that have been injured on the job, so it's all going to a good cause and it's a good thing. This is a cool spot. It's outdoors. We are in the trees, in the shade. The Z's already posted up and ready to go. So yeah, I think it's time to go do a little bit of looking around. Out of all the cars here at this show, there is one I want to show you the most. And it's not because of its scheme, it's not because of its low, it's because of some other things. Check this car out. The freaking T-tops, man. And you know where these T-tops are from? That's right, dude. This is the roof T of a freaking 300ZX. That is pretty freaking BA. I have never seen anything like that, and this definitely wins my pick for the most interesting, most custom thing, simply because he's got some 300ZX parts integrated into his ride. That's a win. That's a freaking win in my book. Hopefully not too good of a win, you know what I mean? The show is going good, man. There's a lot of cool cars. It's totally family oriented. We're gonna walk around, just meet, talk story. Yeah, see you in a little bit.
first place, one of my favorite engines of the show, number 40, Brian with the 93 Nissan 300ZX. Probably eat off that engine if you've seen it.
Thanks.
We're making our mark in El Paso, man. We're making our mark. So I hope you enjoyed that little video segment, man. It was a really good time, dude, and like I said, we're making our mark, so it's really cool, really awesome, and yeah, it's paying off in ways that I'll talk about a little bit later. I probably sound a little bit different because I'm actually using a lavalier mic, and I'm doing that because, one, for my birthday, my dad gave me 4 of them, and those are going to be used later on to capture turbo and exhaust sounds in projects that I want to do further down the road. But for today, it's going to allow me to have a nice steady tone and not have to do a lot of audio editing, even though the camera will be at different distances away from me, so I hope you like the difference. The car is in the garage, it's ready to go. I had to make a quick run to the store because I forgot that I only have 2 jack stands here. I don't have 4, so I had to go get those on my bicycle, and yeah, man, we're ready to go. I went ahead and put them in a little bit of a logical order just to kind of make the information flow a little bit better, almost like tell a story. So all along, I think I've been pretty good about answering people's questions. You know, not everybody goes back and reads the comments or checks out things on Instagram, and I have a lot of private messages from time to time. This is a good opportunity to just kind of get everybody on the same bubble. Some of y'all asked multiple questions. Some of them have been asked before, but I'm here to give you all the answers to all your questions. The first question that I have is, how long have you been working on cars? And do you do all your own work? I've been working on cars for about 21 years. I've been working on cars. I've been working on Z's for about 18 of those 21 years. And really my first project car, my first car that I ever really started working on was a 1994 Nissan Sentra. Kind of a funny story, man. The reason I started working on that car in the get-go was because I hated it. Because I hated it a lot. One day I was at the airport in Atlanta picking up my mom, and I saw a sport compact car magazine on a shelf, and I thought, holy cow, man, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, that's when I kind of got into the sport compact world. Do I do all my own work? Yes, I do all my own work, and I've made a lot of mistakes doing my own work, and I think that's just what has taught me how to do my own work more proficiently and more exactly, to trust in the things that I'm doing. The only things I don't do is I've never mounted, well, I shouldn't say never. I have mounted a balanced tires once, and it was a fail. I've done my own paint. I've done my own body. I've done a lot of different things. Of course, I didn't do this car because I wanted it professionally done. Yeah, man, I do all my own work, and in fact, this car has taught me about doing more of my own work than any other project I've ever done. So the next question is, what is your least and most favorite part about working on cars? I think my most favorite part is learning stuff, man. What's my least favorite? Coolant, without a doubt. It's freaking coolant. What kind of music do you listen to when you are working on cars? 9 times out of 10, the music that I'm listening to in the garage is like current age alternative, usually because that's just the radio station I happen to have on. Typically, that's what I have. I just have a radio station. I do not normally put on any kind of playlist. However, here I am listening to Amazon Music, and I'm listening to a modern alternative station because I just haven't scouted out any good local radio stations yet. So the next question is, how many Z's have you owned? I have owned 9 Z32s. I say 10. I use the figure 10 a lot of times with people. Anybody who's ever talked to me, you know that I usually say I've had 10. And it's because one of them had a rebirth. One of them had suffered a very tragic near death and had to be brought back from obscurity. That truly was reborn as a very, very different Z. Not only body-wise and look-wise and just the overall goal-wise, but I think it got a new engine and all that stuff along the way. It's a very different car. So the short answer is 10. Every single one of them have been registered to me. Did I keep some of them? Some of them I only kept for months. Some of them I kept for years. Some of them I kept for over a decade. Ultimately, I've had 10 that I was the legitimate owner of. I had a couple people ask, why black? Why matte black? Is black my favorite color? Yeah, I guess black kind of is my favorite color. I don't have any real explanation why. Just always loved the way black looks, specifically the way a black Z looks. Why on Project RBZ did you go with matte? Like I just talked about, I had a car that suffered a near fatality, and when that happened, so that car was a gloss black. When the car was pretty wrecked, I ended up stripping it all the way down
For a little while, it was a primer gray, and then eventually it was a primer black. And just seeing that flat black Z, man, I just loved it. I just loved the way it looked. I decided that whenever I built my dream project, I wanted to go with that same kind of look. You know, every once in a while you see in different magazines and stuff, you see the Audi R8s or the Lamborghinis or the other exotics that are in that matte black finish, and I thought, you know what? There's nothing saying that my car won't look just as sexy, so that is the biggest reason for that. Whew, this oil is spent, man, and it's not even that old. But yeah, it's definitely spent. It's about time too. You know, I changed it once at 500. I changed it again at 1,000. We've almost gone 3,000 since 1,000. So it is definitely time to change it again. Just make sure we got that freshy fresh in there. Plus all the stress that long drive across the desert put on the car. You know, it's time to get it back to right. That's draining. Now I need to get the coolant. What has been your favorite Z car project? That's almost a tough question to ask. Because my very first Z I ever owned, that was an incredible learning experience. But at the time, I had a newborn, not even quite newborn. I think my wife was still pregnant with him, with my first child. Things were really on a budget. I know I made a lot of mistakes. I took a lot of shortcuts. I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. I bought a non-turbo shell. It was sitting out back of a Nissan dealership, and I went ahead and just twin turboed it from the get-go. So that was definitely a cool project. But this RBZ has definitely been incredible, man. It has been probably my favorite project, start to finish, without a doubt. Just because of everything involved, all the learning and all the experience and just everything in general. Kind of leads into the next question, why an RB26, and did I ever consider an RB25? Well, not only have I built Zs throughout the years, I've also built S13s. I used to own an S14 as well when I lived in Italy. I had a 200SX, which is actually the European S14, so it comes natural with the SR20 turbo. I really enjoyed that car. It was my daily driver, but eventually I had to get rid of it just because I was having too much fun and I didn't want to get into starting to mod it because, yeah, whatever. So I've worked on several S13s. I've owned a couple myself. I've done SR20 swaps, and I've built 2 RB25 swapped S13s. One was a convertible, one was a hatch. Both of them were freaking awesome. Had a good time building them. I did the projects for other people. They were really satisfied in the end. When I was considering my project car, like this RBZ, for whatever reason, the RB25 just wasn't even a consideration, man. I don't know. It just wasn't, it didn't even cross my mind as like something that I wanted to do, an RB25. Maybe some of it was just because I've not really been a fan of the way the RB25 looks in its original form. You know, I also thought that the RB25 kind of has limited potential, and I think that was just my education at the time. Now I know that the RB25 is more powerful than I ever gave it credit of being. I don't know. It just wasn't a consideration, man. It was like, this was kind of a dream build for me. If I'm going to do the dream build, I'm going to put the unicorn in it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess I had already built 2 cars with RB25s, so building a Z with an RB25 just didn't appeal to me. You know, I just already worked with that engine before. I just never worked with an RB26. And like I said, RB26 is like a unicorn, and hey, it was the logical choice. I don't know how else to explain it, man. How hard is it to do the RB26 swap? I think hard is relative, right, man? Hard is definitely relative. Does it involve a lot of skill? Perhaps. Does it involve a lot of knowledge? I think. Does it involve some special skills? Absolutely. And if you don't have those special skills, do you know where to resource them? For instance, welding and fabrication and other things like that. I think asking if it's hard, I mean, I don't know. Is it expensive? Yeah, I think so. Is it difficult? It was difficult in the sense that there wasn't a lot of information, and there's not like, you can't just go to cxracing.com and buy a freaking swap kit, or maybe you can by now. I don't know, man. It's been so long since I did any research on the matter. You know, like, you can go to 100 different places on the internet, to include eBay, and you can find swap kits for S13, S14, SR20, KAT, blah, 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 JZs, all these. You can find that stuff a lot of places. You can find swap kits for the RB25 and 26 into S chassis, but you're not going to find that stuff for a Z. So the hard part was figuring it out, right? And luckily I had a good mentor. His name was Scott. He was a really good mentor of mine, and really because of the difficulty of the swap, that's why I made TueZday Garage. I don't want somebody else to go through the pain of trying to do all the research that I've already done. Like, I think knowledge is useless unless you're teaching, you know, and so my whole goal this whole time has been to pass that knowledge on so the next person, it's easier for them. And then if they pass on that knowledge, then it's going to be easier for that person. Do I know everything? No. And that's why I just made a reference for other people to, you know, kind of put their 2 cents on. And ultimately, it'll be easy eventually, right? I think that's how I need to answer that question. I might be running out of bucket room here, man. So let me attend to this, and we'll pause on the questions for just a second. The next question is one I get a lot, man. I get it a lot. For good reason too, man, because people want to know what they're about to get into and how much it's going to cost. How much did this swap cost? I've already made a video on this in very much detail. I'll go ahead and put one of those little card dealies like up in the corner here, so you can click on that and go watch that, reference that video later. But I'm still going to give you the answer that you want. The answer is, at its core, in order to get this engine into the car and get it running, I spent right around, I think, $12,600 to get the engine, get it in here, get it what it is, and enjoying it and driving it. That was also prior to doing the entire valve train, second iteration of the exhaust system, getting it tuned, getting these wheels, and a new fan, and a couple odds and ends. Overall, that's where we're at. On top of that $12,000, I spent about another $7,000 doing things that I felt were prudent, were smart, were good ideas. So I spent another $7,000 on top of the $12,600 swap cost just to buy myself pieces of insurance and upgrade things along the way. And then on top of that, there was a cost for the car and to get it to where it was, and that was another $30,000. So all in all, about $32,600. Again, the swap, about $12,600. I'm using all name brand parts, and I did a lot of the work myself. There's some trade-offs, right? There's some ways that you could save money, and there's some ways that you could spend a lot of extra money. So that needs to be considered. But general ballpark, let's say $12,000, okay? My cost was about $20,000 to finish the swap. That sounds like a lot to a lot of people, and yeah, $20,000 is a lot to anybody. I did plan for this for a very, very long time. Remember earlier I commented about the S14 I had and I ended up getting rid of it. It's because I didn't want to spend money on that I was wanting to set aside for this. So over the course of about 5 or 6 years, I set money aside to save up for this car. Every dollar I've put into this car has been cash money. I haven't put anything on credit. I've never borrowed money against it. Every part I've put on is bought and paid for. So if I was to wreck this car today, I'd have no debt about it, which is, it's important. That's just the way I choose to live my life, and that is what it is. But again, I saved for 5 or 6 years. So when I built this car, even though I built it in a course of a year or two, it wasn't crazy. Now, I didn't even have all the cash I needed to build this car, hence the reason we took on other projects like the green Z, we had the white Z, we had the R32, we had the MR2, we had a lot of other projects in the garage. We even had that huge garage sale where we sold a lot of parts, which eventually paid for the leather. There's a lot of costs that I made up for along the way. And I think that's important, man. Space it out. You got to take your time. Let me just try not to get on a soapbox here, but these YouTubers out there that are making daily videos that feel the need to make results every day, you know why their car breaks down so much? They're not saving. They're not buying wisely. They're buying parts that they can get quick, that they can get cheap, that they can make a video and put it on their car, and they have issues. And that whole idea of things rattling apart, bro, you know one thing you've never seen in my garage? An impact wrench or an impact gun putting this thing together. It's all with my hands. and with actual torque wrenches. You shouldn't need Loctite on everything if you just do it right, dude. A rattle gun does not get you to the right torque that you really need. You think it might, it just doesn't. So that's with that. Let me get this plug in, and then we'll start at least finishing up the oil system. The coolant is drained. In between one of the scenes, I was actually blowing into the coolant system to try and flush as much as I could out, and I think I got a good amount. So let me get this plug in. We'll get the oil system finished, and then we'll move to the rear differential and the transmission. With that said, I'm going to crawl underneath the car and give you one more question. I've been asked a couple times and actually received some pretty good suggestions about air conditioning systems, and I will tell you this, man. I've got questions about how do you stand driving in the car without AC? Are you going to put AC in it? Could you put AC in it? How's the AC development going? I've been referred to a company that makes custom AC stuff. Like, I appreciate all the information, but truthfully, I don't know. I just don't care. AC is just something I don't care about. I know some people really like it. It just doesn't bother me so much to not have it. Am I looking into an AC system for this car? I mean, that would be neat, but honestly, it's just not worth my dimes right now. I have absolutely no reason to put focus and effort and money into that because it's just not a priority. So one of the other questions was, could I do it? It would be difficult for me in my current configuration to put air conditioning in this car. Let me show you why. Let me physically show you the reason why. Looking here in the nose, you can see the crank pulley. The distance here is about a thumb, maybe 1.5 inches between this brace and the crank pulley. And then I have about 1 inch between the electric fan motor and this brace. Now, you could see where the AC is supposed to be mounted, which are these holes right here. Even if I was to fit a condenser in this area, which I would have to lose this brace, or I don't know what I'd have to do, putting a fan on it would be impossible. It would absolutely be impossible. There's no way I could do it. Not to mention that the radiator hoses actually come through this whole area, so it would have to be a short custom one. Now, I know that I could probably put an AC condenser under the car, not necessarily catching flowing air, but just having a fan that cooled it down somewhere else in the car. I'm sure that that's a thing. In my current configuration, the way I chose to build this car, air conditioning, and even the power steering reservoir being right here, air conditioning in this car is just something that I honestly don't see as feasible. I'm sure there's a way to do it. Ultimately, it's just not something I'm completely 100% interested in. Could you do it with this swap? I'm sure you could. This is not the end-all be-all way of putting a radiator in. This is the way I chose to do it, to catch maximum airflow, to keep it low. I wanted to have as thick of a freaking core as possible. I recently was watching a YouTuber that is modifying an S13 for an RB26, and they decided to actually cut a huge chunk out of the core support and put the radiator where this core support would be, get rid of their hood latch, and basically now they have to use hood pins. Since day one, since I put this engine in, I do not want to modify this whatsoever. I do not want this car to have pins or be racy or ricey. I don't want it to look like there's anything special about it on the outside other than it's just got a neat paint job and some nice wheels, man. And an intercooler obviously shows up in the front. I don't want to take away from the original lines and everything about the Z32. Hopefully here, having this perspective answers that question. Is it possible? I'm sure it's possible. Am I going to do it? No, I'm not going to do it. And I'm okay with that. I could deal with it. I'm kind of a tough guy, so I could deal with it. So anyway, enough kicking that horse. Let's move on. What is it like to daily drive the RB26? What is it like to daily drive this engine? I don't know. It's like driving any other car. I don't know. It's just smooth and it's nice. It's not torquey like a V6. Most of my driving every day is cruising, like highway cruising. It's pretty steady, 80% of the drive, but that other 20% is on-ramps and stuff like that, and that's kind of where I let it eat a little bit. It's fun, man. It's a good mix. I'll take this question a little bit further and say, what is it like daily driving a project car? Man, I've had a lot of project cars in the past that I'm confident in the work that I do. I'm confident in all my ability. I'm confident in the parts I use. I'm confident in all the things. But anybody who's built a project car, sometimes it can be hard to get yourself to drive 100 miles away from your tools. You know what I'm saying. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You're going on a road trip, and no matter where you're going, you're packing like ridiculous amounts of tools just because. My first Z ever, it just never ran right, and a lot of reasons why is because I never got it tuned. I was just using a chip tune from, my first chip tune was Jim Wolf, my second chip tune was Ash spec, yeah, and I think my third chip tune was either Ash or Z1, I don't remember which. All good, but you know, it just wasn't tuned exactly the way the car needed to be, and I think the car had problems as well. Always confident in my work. I did definitely that Z. I drove all over the place, like Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. I mean, I drove that car everywhere and took it to a lot of things. Been to the Z Nationals multiple times with it, and there were times when it was just sketchy, but there were other times where I was on the tail of the Dragon just ripping it up, man, ripping it up. It drank a lot of gas. I think the best gas mileage I ever got was like 16 miles to the gallon. It sucked really bad, but I was always just nervous, man. I was just nervous. Daily driving the RBZ has given me a greater confidence in myself, in my abilities, in my research, in my execution of this car. You know, I really took my time to build this car, and it shows when I can drive it every single day without worry. I have my music cranked where I could barely even hear the engine anymore, and I'm confident. Like, I don't even need to listen to the engine, dude. I'm very happy, and I'm confident. That has been the greatest benefit about daily driving the RBZ, because I've gained a greater appreciation for myself as a builder and as a mechanic, which has been fantastic. So yeah. A very cool person asked me if I like mountain roads. I think the question is very cool and appropriate because I know this individual is actually out on some very popular mountain roads themselves, ones that I just actually mentioned. Yes, I love mountain roads. I'm originally from the great state of Colorado and grew up in the mountains, so mountain roads are my thing. That is where I am from, and that is what I love. When I go back home to Colorado to visit folks, like, there's nothing I love more than getting into the Big Thompson or the St. Vrain Canyon and just ripping it up, man. I'm from a small town close to 8,000 feet, like up in the mountains. So do I love mountain roads? Yes. Yes, I do. Very, very much I do. Everybody always wants to know, do I race this car? Or am I gonna race this car? What's the top speed? What's a quarter mile? Dude, I built this car to drive. And driving, it's not always 0 to 60, man. Driving is how fast you're taking those twisties. It's not always about getting sideways and how much smoke you can make out the back of the car. Next question I got was, if I could drive anywhere, where would it be? And that's an awesome question, man, because I've been a lot of places and I've driven cars in a lot of different places. I've never had a Z in all those places, but I've definitely driven in quite a few places. I've lived in Europe several times, and I've taken a Z on the Autobahn. I hit 163 miles an hour on the Autobahn, and that was cool and sketchy at the same time, man. It was something else. This last time living in Italy, didn't get the opportunity to enjoy a Z while living there, and I really wish I could. I've never been to Canada, and I think that would be beautiful. I would love to be able to drive in Japan. I've driven in England, I've driven in Scotland, I've driven all over Europe. If I could go back to Europe again, and this time with a Z or another awesome car, I would love to go through Switzerland. Specifically, there's a cool drive that goes from Switzerland to a little town in southern Germany called Garmisch. It's up in the mountains. I'd love to do that. That would be sick. That would be awesome. I'd love to do that. Can I have a ride? Yeah, sure you can. Absolutely. Anytime. You let me know. You can have a ride. As long as I don't feel like you're gonna carjack me. Yep, you got it, man. Absolutely. Okay, what are your thoughts about swapping in a VQ37 into a Z? I don't really have any thoughts on that. I don't know if there'd be benefit or difficulty or cost, or I don't know. I guess, yeah. If that's what you want to do, man, go for it. Would you ever consider installing an RB30 into this Z? I don't think so. I think this is what she's going to have. I think an RB30 is pretty sweet. Maybe that's something that sees its life in another project, but who knows? Do I ever plan to go single turbo? This is a good question. It definitely gained lots of contemplation and thought. I know there's some good evidence out there that has a good argument of a single turbo versus twin turbo on the RB26. I think it's Motive DVD. I think they do a little program that really shows how the single was superior. But I will say this. While I do understand the benefits to a single as far as simplicity and all that stuff, one of the biggest reasons why I kept the twins was to pay like a respect to the Z32. I think the Mighty Car Mod guys joked about purity. That kind of is what it boiled down to, man. Still paying a little bit of an homage to the Z32 by keeping it twin and not fully removing it. Am I cheating myself in the car and all that stuff? Maybe. But keeping it twin, really, it pays homage to the twin turbo Z, and it is what it is. Now, why am I still on stock turbos? Because I wasn't 100% convinced that the twin turbo would work. There was a part of me that was pretty convinced that the turbos would get in the way of the steering shaft, because a lot of other RBZs that I've seen were all single turbo, and I don't know why. Maybe that's just what they wanted to do. I was still concerned that all said and done, one, I couldn't get the twin turbos to clear the rack and the steering shaft, and then I couldn't get the exhaust Y pipe to do the same thing as well. So I kept the stock R33 twin turbos because if I needed to abandon and go to a single turbo, I was ready and I wouldn't have already spent money on big twin turbos. But now that they work, eventually I'll be going big twin turbos. Why not single? Well, that kind of leads into the next question. I just realized I totally forgot to change the oil filter. We've already got an engine full of oil. Should be good though. It should be nice and low, not gonna lose a lot. So anyway, got the new Greddy oil filter. And it's a good thing too, because for some reason my old oil filter is actually leaking at the seal where it seals to the engine. So I'm not sure why that's happening. Anywho, okay. So what's my next project going to be? Guys, it's August 2018. And what does that mean? It means that the R33 Skyline is now legal in the United States. And that's my next project. If I wasn't in the situation that I'm in right now, with this whole 2 households going to school and all that jazz, I would have already bought an R33, guys. It'd already be in driveway. But because I am in the situation I'm in, and there's a little bit of uncertainty in the future, as far as there's just uncertainty. I can't quite explain it yet. There's just a little bit of uncertainty. And the fact that I would have to ship the car once I leave here and all that other stuff. I'm holding off for now. But guys, I'm not going to be holding off for too much longer, man. I'm going to get an R33. That is the next project, and I fully plan on just getting a GT25T, man. Doing the RB25 thing, big single turbo, and I don't really care about all-wheel drive. It's going to be a beast, man. It's going to be a beast. So when we go back around, we think about why I didn't do RB25 here and big single turbo and all that stuff. The R33 will be all those things, man. It will be all those things. This build is just going to be this way, and it may evolve slightly from here to have bigger turbos and injectors, but it's not going to have much more from that other than other restoration stuff and suspension stuff. The next project is the R33, guys, and it may happen soon, it may not happen soon. I need to get clarity on some other things, and then I would say within the next year and a half, 18 months, within the next 18 months, we're getting an R33. That's happening. That will happen, yes. That's the next project. Let me get this filter on, and then I think we're down to our last couple questions. Okay, new filters on and everything's good with that. Yeah, I made sure this one was a lot tighter by hand. Got the 2-hand Kung Fu grip on there, so we should be good to go. As far as the coolant goes, man, I'm going to have to do the 50-50 chemistry, man. I'm going to have to mix it up. People swear by all water. I got that. I live here in Texas. It's hot, but it's not hot all the time. I just have reservations about it. Coolant also offers properties to keep water from boiling. It also makes sure that it doesn't freeze, and it also provides lubrication, and it also provides anti-corrosion properties. So could this car run cooler with just water? Yeah, I'm sure it can, but I'm gonna continue to use a mix of coolant and water just because that's what makes sense in my brains, and maybe if this wasn't something I had to drive every day, we'd do otherwise. I'm not gonna mix the coolant while we're talking. So with that said, I'm gonna hit the last question. The last question that I received from you guys was, if I had unlimited money, would I ever build another VG? It doesn't have to do with money. It doesn't have to do with money, and it doesn't have to do with the capabilities of a VG, and it doesn't have to do with anything in particular. Like, I don't think that the VG is inferior to the RB. I don't think that at all. Some people might think that I built this car because I don't like the VG. And that's not the case. As I said, I've had 10 Zs. I've done all the things, man. I've even considered doing an SR20Z in the past. Why? It's not about the power, it's not about the performance, it's just about building, man. It's about doing something different, expanding your mind, Craig. You know, it's about saying, I want to do this, and then doing it. Like, that's what it's about. I've had the NAs, I've had the autos, I've had the manuals, I've had the twin turbos, I've had all the different VGs, man. I've just done all the things. And I don't think one is better than the other, it's just different. Do I like working on the RB more than the VG? Yeah. A lot. Like, a lot, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's just so much simpler. Everything about it, even the fuel system is easier, man. It's like, with the VG, that's like coming off of one side, and there's all these tubes and hard pipes and like 1,400 little pieces of rubber line, and the fuel rail goes down underneath the plenum, and if you have an injector leak or something like that, it's just... it's all complicated. It's just all complicated. But it's not worse. And this isn't better. This is just, you know, it's something I wanted to do, and I did it, and now that I did it, I appreciate it. I appreciate its simplicity, like, way more. Is this side still a mess? Yeah. But can I see the turbos and actually reach down and touch them without dislocating my wrist bones? Yeah, I can. I'm going to be able to swap these turbos out without taking the engine out. So that's going to be amazing, you know. But would I ever build another VG? I don't think so. I don't think so. Will this be the last Z I ever own? I kind of hope so. I hope nothing happens to this car. And for that reason, I'm going to take really good care of it. I just don't want anything to happen. I may own another Z here and there, simply just to make a project and maybe sell or, flip a Z. I've actually been looking at one in the local area, either to flip or to part out. But I hope this is the last Z that I own. I want to move on, dude. I want to get into that Skyline game. I will own an R33 in the next 18 months. Hopefully it doesn't take 18 months to realize that, but that's the realistic timeline goal that I need to set. I've deeply contemplated buying another Z and doing that SR20 swap that I talked about, but not to hold on to permanently, just to say I did one and to learn from it, turn it around and put it in the hands of someone else. So, yeah, man, that's it. I've always considered myself to be pretty active with y'all in the comments, in the Instagrams. Anytime you guys send me questions, I think I do a pretty good job of getting right back to you and getting the answers you deserve. It was really nice just to field some extra questions from you. Anytime you have a question, leave them. You could leave them in the comments of a video. You can direct message me on YouTube. You can go over to Instagram, because I do that more than Twitter. I really don't go on my Twitter anymore. Just know that I'm accessible. I will answer anything that you have to ask, as long as it's family friendly. I got no problems helping you out. If you ever have any questions, I'm not the be-all, end-all of answers, but I'm going to give you my opinion, and I'm going to give you the knowledge that I have, and to the best of my ability. So don't ever hesitate to contact me. I hope you guys continue to enjoy TueZday Garage. I'm going to keep bringing you as much content as I possibly can. School has been very busy. These videos are going to be few and far between, but I'm going to try to knock them out. I hope you're enjoying it. Tell your friends, bring a buddy, and until next time, ciao a tutti, and aloha. Bye-bye.